Hi, so this is the Drupal core cross initiatives meeting for the 24th of May 2018. And in this meeting, we go through all the initiatives, at least that are have people in attendance or we know their status, and talk about the successes that we've had and the challenges that we've had. This time, it would be nice because we are like 8 weeks before feature freeze, I think, last time I looked, alpha. It would be nice if we can talk about the major things remaining so that we can like promote that and have people focus on, get more people focus on those that maybe not yet helping out with the initiatives. So that would be nice addendum if we can do that, the major stuff remaining for the upcoming 8 weeks. So Lucas said before we started recording that he needs to run soon, so let's start with migrate.
Okay, unmuted myself. We have 3 modules in the migrate space and core. The one migrate API module went stable and beginning right before 8.5, so big kudos to everyone. The other 2 modules are migrate Drupal and migrate Drupal UI. Migrate Drupal UI is all but stable, but it depends on migrate Drupal. And then migrate Drupal is still marked as beta experimental-ish. It's blocked on I18N at this point, primarily. We've got a system that is very intermeshed, and we did work on a possibility as we get closer to 8.6 to add an experimental module that would sort of break out all the I18N stuff into another module, more or less, so that we can mark migrate Drupal as stable, and then also mark migrate Drupal UI as stable. We have 5 issues that are I18N issues that would allow us to mark migrate Drupal stable. I know this is getting confusing, but we've got all these issues that are I18N related, that if we can resolve those, then we don't have to use this experimental module breakout gimmick. But we're 8 weeks out and we still have 5 issues, so there's a pretty decent chance that our gimmicky thing might become the real thing. So I'll paste in the Hangout here the link to the issues. That's in there. We did recently in one of our calls go through and sort of triage things. And the reason why these are blockers for I18N is they're missing content or potential backwards compatibility breaks for fairly important sections of content, like being able to get Drupal 6 user profile values translated, or I don't know, other things in that. And it's primarily been focused on Drupal 6, but we also have some Drupal 7 things that are also in that camp. So there's I would say, a pretty good chance that we're going to do our gimmicky thing. I don't want to call it a gimmicky thing. We're probably going to end up having a new experimental module that's going to break out all the I18N migrations. There's 20%, I think. Andrew, you did some research at one point, and so I've been reporting that we've got about 20% of Drupal 6 and 7 sites that are installed with some variation of I18N based off of the contrib modules that are available there, and doing some math and calculations. So we've got a pretty sizable chunk of people, but it's still not over. It's not so many that we don't feel like we can get some boost. 80% are are monolingual, so being able to mark Drupal as stable for an upgrade will still allow us to trumpet our horn a fair amount.
Yeah, there's not a lot of contributors from those 20% contributing to this, unfortunately.
Unfortunately not.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Looking at these issues, this is probably more for the migrate call, which will be taking place tonight. But looking at some of these issues, I feel like maybe one or two of them could be sort of backed off a little bit or reduced in scope. So I think we should make every effort, if we haven't already, to not put another experimental module in core. Although I agree with Lucas that like just because of the speed at which things move in core and in migrate, it's probably going to happen, but I think we should try to avoid that if we can, and we might be able to triage some of these out of existence. I hope so, anyway.
What's the biggest blocker, like, or rather, how can people who would like to see migrate stable and have some experience in multilingual, like, where can they best help you? Do you need people to write patches? Do you need people to review patches? Do you need people to do testing? Do you need people to write documentation? Where can the community be the most helpful on this?
The sad thing is that when it comes to I-18N migrations, the learning curve is very high.
I think probably the most helpful things, looking again at these issues, there's two I see that are very specifically about migrating stuff from Drupal 6. So I feel like where the community can be most helpful is in testing these two. Looks like about two other ones are mostly about DX, which I think in terms of marking migrate Drupal stable is less important.
I think I actually pasted the wrong link there. I'm looking at that again.
Okay, because I'm like, if there's only this many issues and one of them's a meta.
No. Here's the better. I just copied in the right link now.
Oh, okay, thank you. Let me take a look at that. Okay, yeah, this is substantially more. Yeah,
anti-field translations is one.
Yeah, in that case, Angie, to answer Angie's question, then I think, yeah, when it comes to development, I agree with Lucas. The learning curve is so steep that it exceeds 90 degrees, and probably testing the patches against real world data is more useful, or the most useful thing, particularly the RTDC ones, of which there is currently only one. So that's probably the most useful thing in this case.
Okay.
The other possibility would be to fund time, but I don't know if that's even possible given some of our commitments. But that's also possible.
If people wanted to do that, would they talk to you, or?
Yeah, if they want to talk about things, they can talk to me.
Okay.
And other things we do have. We've been sort of refining within BC the migrate user experience. We've got several issues out there that are improving things to make it easier for folks to run the migrations. Or we've got on our 8.6 roadmap Drush inclusion. I think that's going to be backed off on. We're not going to be able to do Drush migrate. We're still kind of waiting on some things in core to land before we can do that. And so we're not going that route just right now. What else is going on?
What about CSV support? That was in a roadmap as well.
Repeat that. It got cut out.
Oh, sorry. CSV file support.
CSV. That is waiting for reviewers, I believe, Adam.
I think so. Yeah, I took a look at it and I felt like it was mostly okay. I think I asked for some changes and I haven't looked at it since then.
You had about 30 different points of feedback. I think most of that's been addressed.
Okay, yeah, there were definitely some things where I got pushed.
A lot of it was docs And a lot of it was, we don't want to change that, although it would be good UX, because we've got a fairly large install base. And
Right, I
we'd
do
rather
remember
not
that.
do that in a port from contrib. We can do that once it's in, but we don't want to do too much different from what's in contrib during the port, just because it makes for reviews.
We didn't really need to do a whole lot of changes there. But anyway, we can talk about this more on the migrate call, but I can take another look at that patch to get
So
that in.
that's what's going on. Lots of good things are happening. It's stabilizing the Slack channel. It has become sort of the default place to ask questions. IRC has kind of dropped off significantly in the last 6 months, I would say. And the questions are getting pretty educated, I would say. People are asking good questions rather than, which means that our docs are answering the really easy questions. And we're now down to like, hey, I'm trying to align the moon, the stars, and the planets all at once and do this on a fairly complicated scenario. And they're real good questions, or they're starting to become more that way. So I think that's a good sign that we're getting good docs, we're getting good stability on the API. More questions are coming in, which means more people are upgrading. I know this is all anecdotal, but anecdotal is still good to hear. Sorry, I didn't have a big list of things to discuss, but that's what's going on.
That's fine. I think it was good. Like I think we can promote the issues for review. I've seen that Keith already relayed the information that the CSV import needs review to the out-of-the-box channel, so it's already happening. Cool. Who should be next? Can we go back to the start, or do we not have people for admin UI? We have people for admin UI. No. Yeah, we do. Christina.
Hi. Okay, so from last time we met, we said that we were going to run a user test at Twin Cities, but it came out that we didn't have enough time to prepare everything. So what we're going to do is try to recruit people for the user test. And we are actually planning this user test with other people from other initiatives like Emily to also test the layout, builder, and so on. So if you think anything else could be added in the user test, just ping us or say something, because we are on time. We still have time to add more things there. Apart from that, the designs, we don't have any visual update that we can give yet. We are planning to have an MVP forum for next week at Frontend United, for the Frontend United, and mainly we are based on material and material UI from the new one that were released from Google, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel, and there's a lot of things that can be reused, but also there are a lot of things that we can't use because our admin UI is not, needs to be editor and site builder proof, and for example long labels proof and this kind of things. So it's not that easy, and we are going to change from things from there. And something that actually is not really good is that right now we don't think we are able at least to have some of you already knew it, but I was trying to convince myself that we could have a theme for 8.6, but the person that was going to at least lead that is not able to do so. So we need to be realistic, and ideally we should have something soon, but it's not actually moving anything. There's nothing moving yet because we don't have any lead yet. And it's really difficult because we can actually explain how many times is it going to be useful until we have and the meeting next week to know exactly this new theme, how many times it's going to be around, if it's going to survive after GS admin is launched and so on. So until we have more information, we can't make a big call asking for more people involved or at least having a lead or something like that.
I don't think we can get clarity on that anytime soon, honestly.
Sorry?
I mean, one of the challenges is no one's seen anything yet. So, like, I'm a little scared about this going into Front End United. I don't know what you've been working on. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know how much work it is. I don't know anything. And the sooner we can get that information out to the community, the easier it's going to be to attract someone to do the implementation. But no one's going to sign up for implementing some of the spec of. You know
Without designs, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's hard.
So if it's possible,
it's hard to inspire people without the visuals.
Before we get on the ground, that would be fantastic. Oh, sorry, Gabor.
It's hard to get people inspired without the visuals, and it's hard to sign up someone if they don't have an idea of the scope of the work.
Yeah,
because they don't see what the result.
Okay. I see. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense actually. But initially we had some people just willing to help, even without having a design, and that's why we were convinced we were able to do something, but it wasn't possible. So that's the thing. So yeah, I guess we will need to rely on having proper designs to do that call. That's a good thing to know. And that's all. We don't have more updates.
Is there any chance of getting a copy of those mocks, even if it was only distributed to the people who are going to the Front End United before we checked, so we have some idea? Because like I'm kind of feeling blocked because one of the things on my list is to get an agenda, like a loose agenda together, but I don't know what your part entails, so it's really hard to understand if that's like for 6 days or like, you know what I mean, like how much we're looking at there, like if it's a reskin or if it's a Java or like, you know, like it's, yeah. So is it possible to either get, like, ideally get those, whatever you have posted to the issue sometime a week, or if not that, because I understand like too many cooks in the kitchen and bike shedding and stuff. So if not that, if it were at least possible to distribute to the people that will be attending the sprint next week ahead of time, that would be super, super, super helpful.
So the thing is that we're working on restyling components. So we have, for example, the Dropbox on one side, we have the field, the text field on another side, the buttons on another one. So, you know, the analogy of the hamburger, we have everything in separated pieces, and we still haven't placed everything together because we are working more on a design system than on a mock-up itself. Like a finished design with all the redesign for the toolbar, redesign for all the page. So we are starting with the elements from the forms and this kind of things. So we are not redesigning all the interface from the scratch, because we are working with the idea that we need to change component by component, and we are not having this big change from I don't know how to explain the organization of the UI, because we still don't know what we can do. I don't know if I'm explaining. Maybe we are waiting information from other people, wants from each other, and That's the thing here. But we don't have like we are going to prepare, for example, an edit form for a node, and we are going to have this page finalized. But don't expect that we, for example, place the toolbar on the right or this kind of things, because we are thinking on Jeffrey styling for now, and not reinvent, redoing all the interactions and all the completely changing the interface, because we don't know we can do yet. So it's more like restyling of what we have for now. Don't know if it kind of answers a little bit.
Yeah, that's hugely helpful, because I didn't even know that. That all sounds great to me. If it's possible to get a sneak peek, though, that would still be really helpful, like in advance of the sprint, so we can like show up on the ground having looked at what you've got and know what we can talk about. So
we are going to try that, but we are going to work this weekend on that also. So probably it's not going to be before Monday.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough then. But okay, that helps though, knowing that we're looking at a variety of restyled components versus a redesign in like a Photoshop mockup, which is much better anyway, because that's how React works. So that's wonderful. And then whatever mockups we come up with will basically be combinations of those components. So that sounds great.
Cool.
All right. So I don't think we have people for API first. I already put in NA in the docs. So next will be JavaScript.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, so that design update's really great to hear. That gives us some clarity on where we are going into Front-End United next week, where we'll have the JavaScript sprint. What else? We made a lot of progress on Nightwatch, some issues around logs, and then starting to build sort of parity between the JavaScript functional test-based commands and what you can do from JavaScript. It looks like the Ajax.js issue is finally, hopefully, done. It's not committed yet, but it's close. And then some more UX accessibility feedback on the messages issue right now. I think that is where we are. At least that's where I am. Yeah.
What are your main goals left for 8.6?
It would be great to get JS messages in and the Ajax.js fix in, as well as some commands for Nightwatch, which I think are definitely doable now that we've kind of figured out a pattern for those things. So we just lofty goals, but it seems possible.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then Matt, what if anything do you need from other people? Like, do we need reviews on accessibility reviews of messages API? Is that right? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we're sort of in a blocked loop on accessibility reviews for the messages API. The last one was sort of like a 2-month delay in between the patch and the review time. So if we could sort of, if it any way at all possible, sort of speed that up, that would be great. So.
Yeah, it might be worth joining their Slack channel and just asking in there.
Yeah, I know Larry's been in there, sort of trying to coordinate that, but it's just trying to get people's time. That's all.
Otherwise, Andrew McPherson shows up to the UX calls sometimes, so maybe attending one of those and showing off the patch could be one other way of getting accessibility feedback.
Yeah. I mean, Andrew's been the one that has been doing the sort of feedback, but I guess, yeah, just lots of there's issues with the messages that already get printed by the server, and then we're duplicating that, and then apparently those messages are also wrong. So it's like, what do we fix all the messages, or just, it kind of increases the scope of this change here if we try and fix all the messages at once. So this issue also is 11 years old, so it'd be really great to get it off my plate. That's it.
That would be nice. Okay. So we don't have anyone from Config 2.0 or layouts, unfortunately. Config 2.0 is definitely my mistake, because I haven't invited anyone from Config 2.0. So that's a thing I need to fix. Layouts, we may need to invite someone other than Tim Plunkett, because he's not able to make this, usually, probably in the wrong time. So we need to, that's an action item for me. Next one is media.
Okay. Well, the story with media currently is that the media library the code is basically RTBC and has been for a couple of weeks now. What we are heavily involved in is accessibility stuff and UX stuff. So there have been several rounds of review on that front. Accessibility is getting very close. I think that Andrew McPherson has been very good about being responsive about that. And just about all of his feedback has been addressed. And then I was out for a week. I came back yesterday, and Sam Mortensen told me that there's some UX work still to do to simplify a couple of things. And I think, according to him, we're waiting on design for that. So I think we are currently, and Christina, please confirm this for me, but I believe we're currently blocked on UX, blocked on design. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna upload something this afternoon.
Okay, so we're blocked on that. But once something comes through, it should be pretty easy for us to implement those changes. At which point we'll get another round of UX review and accessibility review. And we're hopefully we can go RTBC next week. That would be really cool if we did. The field widget part of this is, again, mostly blocked on the media library, but last I knew, it didn't really have any accessibility concerns. UX liked it last time they saw it. So that's really just blocked on the media library, which is mostly blocked on UX and final accessibility blessings. So that's where we're at with that. Some good news about the OEmbed stuff at YouTube is that patch just went RTBC this morning. So that's about 140K of patch review. But if anybody wants to, it's been very heavily looked at by a lot of people at the code level. So if anybody wants to take some time to user test that, I'm looking at you, Angie, or anyone else who's interested in that, please do. And hopefully we can land that within a week. I'd love it if we did that. So that's where media is right now. Any questions?
So the goals for 8.6 remain the OEmbed and the media library and the field widget?
Correct. So basically we have significant progress on all of our 8.6 targets. Is the sort of TLDR of it. And one target is RTBC now. So yay!
That is actually really awesome. That's like something to super celebrate. Great job.
I'm very happy that you think so. So yeah, do you want to give the OEmbed patch another test? It already underwent WebCheck test case and did pretty well. But if you want to go again and try it, then we would welcome that.
Yep, I'd be happy to do that. But today is kind of a weird day. I got to get my kid down to the U.S. consulate to get her passport renewed, so I can't guarantee I can get to it today. but hopefully tomorrow or Monday.
Okay, cool. That sounds really good to me. In the meantime, may it continue to pass tests and be RTBC. So yeah.
Yay. Cool.
Yay.
Very cool. Okay, that's great. Out of the box. So we have it in the, we have the doc from, so we always copy the last doc and then create from there. And we have this here that release management feedback is needed still on Gabor to circle back with Catch on XGM. And we discussed this on the core committee call and discussed that we would put more product manager involvement on out of the box. So I've attended the out of the box meeting, and Angie has been providing feedback on some of the issues as well. So I guess we did some of that. So the question back on the team is if we've been helpful and what else we can be helpful with.
That team, I guess there are people from that team who can just say what they need. But my read of it is that you guys are really looking for like a firm to-do list, like a checklist of like what is left to do to get this thing like out of the hidden, field set, and then also what is left to get it to like quote unquote stable, because we don't really know what stable means for this thing, but stable-ish. Is that correct, or like what?
I think so, Angie. Yeah, we've got a lot of momentum on it in the past maybe two to 3 weeks. So we've got a number of issues now that have gone from needs work to needs review, from needs review to RTBC, and from RTBC to committed, which is good. I wasn't at this week's weekly meeting, so Keith can talk about that in a moment, but we triaged the issue queue for the last while. I was going through things. So items that are not going to be looked at for getting us on hidden were marked as postponed. So things like layout builder and media and things like that we will start working on as soon as we're on hidden. So they're marked as postponed, which made the issue a bit shorter. We seem to now have 3 items that are marked as umami stable blockers, but 3 of those are all at the needs review stage. One of them I know is quite a simple one. The search button needs a hover focus state. And then the other 2 are a bit chunkier. One is improving the accessibility of the main menu on small screens. And the other then is the elephant in the room of making it work on Internet Explorer 11. And I think part of the problem is nobody has IE 11 on their computers, so we have to fire up browser stack and things like that. In terms of how much work is left, I'm very happy with how much is left. It seems to be quite a small amount. Most of the issues are smallish front-end ones. Most of them I've marked as novice as well, which is actually taking things a bit longer because I could probably fix them, with a line or 2 of code myself, but instead I'm writing comments to say, hey, here's the line of code you need to change to fix it. Does someone want to come along and do it? And then you have to wait for them to do that, and the back and forth that goes with it. But I think it's good to do that just to get more contributors involved and get more people with Drupal core commits, and anyone that seems to have got a commit seems quite happy with themselves for that.
Mark, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
About a couple of those issues? Are any of them primarily CSS and JavaScript stuff, particularly like the hover state one? Because I know somebody who might be able to help with that. If you could use the extra hands.
Yeah, they're pretty much not even Java. The improving accessibility, I think, might be JavaScript heavy-ish, simply because the menu expand and contract button, that's outside of the nav element, and we need to have it inside, but the styling is based on it being outside, and also the button itself shouldn't appear unless JavaScript is enabled, or else it's an accessibility issue. I think that if JavaScript is not enabled, we have a button, but the button does nothing. So things like that might be a little bit tricky, but the one with the search button needs a hover or focus state. That's just literally one line of CSS, but I think that depends on a different patch that's RTBC that hasn't been committed yet. So if that gets committed, then this one can, because the CSS class I think it needs a class that's available in the first patch. So none of the issues are very tricky for us. It's just kind of getting first timers involved and going through the process of how to create patches and how to test things.
Okay, fair enough. So it sounds like you don't really need too much developer help or anything like that.
No, I mean, we could do it ourselves, but we kind of like to get the newbies involved as well. There's another few issues maybe if people did want to look at that might be a bit more heavy, but they're not stable blockers. They're things that can wait till slightly further down the line. So the actual stable blockers that we have is just 3 issues, and the 3 of those are at need to review. So hopefully in the next maybe 2 weeks or thereabouts, we could get those fixed and finished, and whatever releases after this might be able to look towards being on hidden. Keith, do you have any other updates? Sorry, because you were at the actual meeting on Tuesday.
No, that's fine. I think, yeah, just picking up on what you're saying there, I think getting more review of existing issues, patches submitted is definitely a good thing, especially given the IE11 side of things. So I started sort of testing some of the issues that we're looking at as individual issues and then testing against IE11 as we go. But again, as Mark said, it's browser stack that makes that possible. But obviously, it's quite a bit of testing that needs to be done across the different browsers just to make sure that everything's still working as expected. And in the issue, regarding the issues, we just started a spreadsheet in the call this week, effectively a triage sheet to start grouping things into priority. Obviously, starting with stable blockers, trying to get to that point where we're able to be close to getting the theme reviewed for being unhidden. So yeah, I think that's mainly it.
So do you guys feel like you're still blocked by release manager or product manager feedback? Because what I just heard is you feel like this is in good hands. You've got 3 blockers left, and most of them are novice issues, and you're using it as an opportunity to grow the team, which is great.
Yeah, I think after this week's call,
that what Lowry kind of were severe than that. So.
Sorry, Angie. Definitely. After this week's meeting was really helpful. Just moving forward on the conversation around backwards compatibility and being able to move past that. And Larry's been a great help as well as Gabor, and just absolutely, just focusing on getting the actual front end tasks done rather than so much conversation around the whole kind of upgrade thing.
Okay, great. Thanks.
All right. So we don't have anyone from PHP Unit also, even though Daniel is invited to the meeting. The only time that was successful to get him on was when Sally turned over her laptop to Daniel. That was a fun meeting. So we'll see if there's other leads to PHP Unit that we can invite to see where that's at. So workflow is the one that's left.
Hey folks.
Hi.
So good news. The workspace experimental module is in.
Yeah.
Woo!
I wasn't able to attend the past few meetings, and this is the first update that I'm doing. So for 8.6, we do have 2 or 3 beta blockers. One of them was pretty much unblocked by the awesome work of Ted Bowman, Matthew, and Lowry, I think, yeah. The one that allows us to open the settings tray at the top. So this unblocks us for writing the full workspace UI. And then there's another 2 issues which are not really hard. So at least from this point of view, I don't see any problems for 8.6. Apart from this, we're still working on converting other entity types to revisionable, taxonomy terms being the most advanced one. which also got some very good reviews lately. And as for other goals, I guess if we finish all the beta blockers in time for workspaces, we're gonna still try to do something with hierarchy API for revision trees and all that. And I think that should be about it for 8.6. And the big goal for 8.7 is conflict resolution in core. Yeah, I think that's about it for workflows. Any questions or?
I had just one comment. There was a Acquia sales person that contacted me this week saying that we were recently in a compete with Adobe, and Adobe's answer to conflict management questions from the audience was, well, you need to communicate better with your team. So if we manage to nail plus conflict management or conflict resolution in 8.7, that would actually put us ahead of the pack in terms of this functionality. So, really great, great work. Keep it up, and yeah, may your goals be fulfilled in a timely manner. Whatever. So,
and also thanks everyone else who helped.
What's that? I'm sorry.
I said thank you, and also thanks to everyone else who helped.
Yeah, and it's been definitely a group effort. So, Andre, what's the best thing people can do to help you right now? Like reviews on stuff, or
there are some entity storage issues which need reviews. As for the workspaces itself, I think we just have to work on it. I mean, we have a few issues that we need to resolve. Yeah, but mostly reviews for entity storage. That's our main blocker. And it's very hard to find people who know entity storage that well for those kinds of reviews.
Yeah, but that's like go there and
yeah,
that's it.
No.
Okay, and you. But yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, but still, I think we're in a very good place with everything.
Cool. Okay, thanks a lot.
Maybe we will need another UX review of the whole workspace module after the full UI is done. I'm mainly considering the interaction that we need to show to the user, that they cannot change config or mostly any other form in a non-live workspace. So what we discussed internally is that when you access a form which doesn't edit a revisionable and publishable entity type, we would show a message to the user that they need to open that form in the live workspace. Otherwise, they might think they are making a change in a non-default workspace, but actually the change would propagate to live as well. So we will need some UX review on that approach at some point. Because we're still not able to pin down config in a non-default workspace, basically. That might change with config 2.0, not sure, but that's the case for now, at least.
Do the normal Tuesday meeting times that are at they're at 12:30 p.m. Vancouver time.
Yeah, I think it's my time.
I
will try to attend the next one next Tuesday.
Yeah, next Tuesday, I don't know if there will be members of the UX team are going to be very distracted at Front End United.
Oh, okay.
So it might be better to do the meeting after next week.
Like yeah, that's fine. I mean, there's still a month and a half at least until feature freeze.
Yeah, but you also have to get things approved and coded and signed off and blah blah. So we should get on it as soon as
Right.
it's feasible.
Yeah, and from a product manager perspective, I guess we would need to yeah, we would need to know if this is a beta blocker or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'll ping
Okay.
people when we have something to show and discuss. Doesn't even have to be.
Yeah,
there.
if you have mock-ups post, I mean, I have to look at the embed issue anyway. So I'm going to be like doing the whole try to get frigging Simply Test Me or something working. If you have an issue you can point me at that I can review, I can definitely try to help with that. My preference is to a larger UX team as well, because I'm not a designer or UX person. I just have a lot of opinions.
Yeah.
So it's good to like
Good ones.
review it with people with actual. But I'll be around a bunch of them next week. So if you shoot me the link to it before then, then we could, if nothing else, kind of look at it in the downtime or something.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, and that's about it for workflow.
So I think that's all the initiatives we have in the doc, unless we forget something. Then we are done. Also, it's all the initiatives we have people for. So even if we forget something, you could write it down. Note for later to invite someone. We've had 2 people for API first, but none of them showed up either, unfortunately. I guess they're busy with things. Makes sense.
Is the API first thing?
Wim and Ipso. Matteo, yeah, Wim and Matteo. Okay. If there's no other topics to discuss, then thanks everyone for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Have a nice week.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, folks. Bye.